Alright guys, I gotta do this stupid project for Mr. Story's class. So I decided the best way to go about that would be to travel back in time and talk to some of the greatest minds of the Harlem Renaissance myself. So I put a flux capacitor in this Wiimote here, and as soon as I press this button and jiggle this joystick and wave it around, if my calculations are correct, the velocity should exceed 88 miles per hour, and I should travel backwards in time instead of forwards in time. And then I might just get to talk to some of the most important historical figures from this era. So I gotta pretend I'm Bulle here or something, and I'll give it a go. Where am I? Where's the Wiimote? Did it work? Huh. Well, the only way I can find out for sure is if I find this W.E.B. Du Bois fellow. I wonder where he could be. Alright, I managed to find Mr. Du Bois, and up ahead I'm going to interview him, so stay tuned. So, Mr. Du Bois, tell us a little bit about your education.
I graduated at the Fisk University, Nashville in 1888, and then I went on to receive my PhD from Harvard University in 1895. I took an interest in social sciences, and while I was a professor at Atlanta University, I published The Philadelphia Negro, a social study, which was the original case study of a black community in the United States.
And so, how did you feel about the racism present in the United States?
I experienced great evil in America. Lynching, segregation, and race riots were just some of the things that were present in America every day. My original idea was that the social sciences would hold the key to solving the problems of racism, but I soon realized that the more radical actions were necessary. I believe in direct integration of races and the use of agitation and protest to move forward.
And you were eventually involved in the NAACP, correct?
Yes, I played a major role in its foundation in 1909. I became the association's director of research and editor of its magazine, The Crisis. I had a lot of influence over middle-class blacks. And I used that influence to get more people involved in protest.
And what would you say your most prominent idea of black nationalism was?
That would definitely be Pan-Africanism, which was the idea that all people of African descent should work together for their freedom due to their common goals. Actually, I was a leader of the first Pan-African Conference in 1900.
Du Bois eventually resigned his post in the NAACP in 1934, claiming that the NAACP was ignoring the needs of the masses. He had Marxist teachings, and for a brief time joined the Socialist Party. Eventually, in 1961, Du Bois joined the Communist Party, moved to Ghana, and renounced his American citizenship. Du Bois played a major part in the African-American struggle for freedom, for he used his influence to rally blacks for the cause. Well, that was a pretty good interview. Really exciting. Now, let's use this weird contraption to see where else I can go.
Mama, let me call you back. There's a whiteboard in my kitchen. Who are you?
I'm Jack. Who are you?
I'm Booker. Booker T. Washington.
Nice to meet you, Booker T. Washington. What was your biggest accomplishment?
I founded the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute in Alabama after being emancipated at an early age.
What are some actions you took for the advancement of black people?
I advocated for industrialist education, segregation, and disenfranchisement for blacks. I wanted blacks to support themselves and work for equality. I eventually became the chief black advisor for Teddy Roosevelt and Taft.
And how would you describe your policies?
I am very conservative when it comes to integration of blacks. I believed, much unlike Du Bois, that the best way to reduce race violence was to promote segregation, at least for the time being. I had a petit bourgeois goals, and by educating blacks in industry and helping them acquire land, I tried to make blacks independent and self-reliant.
What was the general reaction to these policies?
There is much opposition to my beliefs, specifically with the Niagara movement. Led by W.E.B. Du Bois and the NAACP, these people had the much more liberal idea that blacks should strike back against white aggression. Unfortunately, these radical beliefs eventually won over my conservative racial philosophies, and I was rather unsuccessful in my efforts to convince the public otherwise.
Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois both had common goals of achieving racial equality, yet both had philosophies that were on either side of the spectrum. Which do you believe was the most justified? Washington's conservative views of African American self-reliance, or Du Bois' beliefs of direct protest against white aggression? Well, it's been fun, and I learned a lot. But I have to turn this in, so I'm going to have to go back to 2010. Bye, Booker!